I want to welcome Stephen, Lena, and Dennis from Xero Shoes, as well as all of the viewers who will be coming in later. And I just want to say that first, I'm completely partial to the Xero Shoes team, the concept of barefoot running, and I'm really excited to have Stephen, Lena, and Dennis here in our first hangout of what I hope are many down the line.
Well, we love you too, Chris.
Well, thanks so much, guys. We're gonna jump right into it, and this first question is going to be for Stephen and Lena. And really, what was the impetus, I guess, behind rebranding Invisible Shoes to your new company name, which is Xero Shoes?
Well, we came up with Invisible Shoes 2.5 years ago when we started the company because the idea was that when you put these on, it feels like you have nothing but a layer of protection. But as the company evolved, as more and more people started using the products, they became less and less invisible. People were coming up with really cool, funky tying styles, adding decorative beads and charms and bangles, some that we were supplying, some that they were supplying, and now we're adding colored outsoles. So the product is becoming way less invisible, so the name wasn't quite appropriate. And Xero simply is way cooler and much more fun and easy to brand.
And with an X, not a Z, right?
Xero with an X.
And I ran into that as well when I was on your Facebook page the other day. I did see somebody had mentioned that, an X, not a Z. And kind of on that same vein, the social community has been ablaze about the logo that you've come up with. Would you mind explaining to the viewers how you came up with this particular design?
That's a tough one. All I know is that one day I went, hey, why don't we just do this? And I came up with this and then sent it to a friend of ours who was one of the former lead designers from Nike and Reebok. One of his friends was the guy who did the Air Jordan logo, and they kind of bounced it around and said, why don't you make this one tiny little change? And that's what we did, and that's what we have.
And let's move on. How big is Xero Shoes now in terms of employees?
Currently, there are 5 of us, Steve and myself, Dennis, who just joined us, and we also have shipping and customer service. So we're growing quickly. You
guys are growing up. And speaking of employees, Stephen or Lena, would you care to introduce your newest addition to the Xero Shoes team, Dennis?
He's the guy who you're probably looking at on your screen right now. So Dennis Driscoll, Dennis and I met not that long, actually right before OR, so it was about 6 weeks ago. We had a mutual friend who said, you guys should probably chat. And we got together really just to talk socially and hang out, which we did. And much to our, at least my thrill, we got along quite swimmingly. And I have a fondness for smart, funny, sarcastic people. Dennis is one of those people. And at the end of our conversation, I said, we're looking for some help with product development and some other business-related stuff. I know you have a lot of experience. If you know of anyone who can help, let me know. And Dennis said, well, I really love what you guys are doing. I'd be interested in helping. And we said, well, we can't afford you, but that's very sweet. He goes, maybe you can. And so we had a conversation, and here we are. I'm going to let him do his bio because there's no way I can do it justice, let alone remember it, because it's a long, storied list of amazing things he's done in the footwear industry.
It's a saga.
It is a saga.
All right, Dennis, could you give the audience a brief rundown of your illustrious career and take us straight through present day with Xero Shoes?
Sure. I got into the athletic footwear business by accident, 1978. I joined a small running shoe company in Eugene, Oregon called Osaga, and I had never worked on shoes in my life before, but they wanted me to run the footwear part of the business, development and sourcing and so forth. So I went over to Korea for 3 months, sat in a shoe factory, did all the functions and operations of making an athletic shoe, and learned basically hands-on like that. A few years later, 2 of the colleagues I had at Osaga and I, along with a 4th gentleman who ran a running shoe company in Eugene, started Avia, which is an athletic footwear brand. Started it from nothing, went out and did the dog and pony shows, raised money, and built it into quite a successful company. The main product there was actually aerobic shoes, and we were lucky enough to be at the beginning of the aerobic shoe boom. So it grew quite quickly, and I was the vice president of product there. Later, I started my own consulting business to the industry, doing primarily design work, development, and sourcing. Did that for many years. 1991, Wilson Sporting Goods recruited me to come and run footwear for them globally. So I was the global business unit director there. We grew the business 4 times in 2 years. Then Converse recruited me to come and run the categories. So basketball, tennis, originals, all the categories in the company. So I was director of marketing there. A few years later, they sent me to Europe, so I lived in London and ran footwear in Europe for that region. Came back and was in charge of design and the creative vision for the company. When they went Chapter 11, I started another consulting business for about 5 years called Sequoia Concepts. Then I was recruited by Doc Martens, moved back to London, which I enjoyed quite a bit, and then Crocs recruited me to be the global design director. And now I'm at Xero Shoes. So that's my path.
And it seems so obvious that it would lead right to here.
Well, all right. It sounds like you've been in footwear for over 30 years, and during that time, seen a lot of companies rise from small operations to large companies, multinational companies. And with that in mind, what about Xero Shoes, and mostly the product, that excites you the most?
Well, watching the industry for so long, I've noticed that the companies that tend to fail or at least shrink forget who they are. They forget what their product's about. They forget what equity they have in that product. They forget what equity they have in the brand, and they just go out and try a bunch of stuff. What I really like about Xero Shoes is the fundamental starting product is really genuine and legitimate. I wear a pair every day now, and I love them. And the industry is tending to go the other way. What was barefoot is becoming sandals. What was barefoot is becoming shoes with midsoles. So this whole kind of running away from what barefoot is really about, that's not what we're doing. We're here for the long term, and we have some additional products coming up that will still be very true to that concept. And I'm very disciplined when it comes to product and marketing, and a big believer that anybody can kind of copy something and then just try to make it a mass market product, but few people have the discipline and the passion to really make something special and unique.
Definitely. My next question is really going to be for Stephen. Your stuff, Barefoot Runner Say, has received almost 170,000 views on YouTube. Now, when you began working on the video, did you expect anywhere near the kind of response you've gotten?
we thought we might end up with maybe 10,000 views. So
if it was freakishly successful, that's what we thought. The whole idea, it was just, there was a whole, stuff people say meme that was going around. Most of them were not very funny. And Lena suggested that I make one for barefoot running, and I didn't really seem like the thing to do. I didn't have any jokes in my mind. And then I woke up with a joke in my head, and then the rest of it kind of wrote itself. So I went out and shot it. It took about 40 minutes to shoot and a couple hours to edit, and I put it together. And I thought, yeah, if we get a few thousand people, that'll be great. And so we had about 1,000 the first day, and 2,000 the next day, and 4,000 the next day, and then Boing Boing picked it up, and we had 10,000 by the end of, I think, the fourth day, which we thought was great. And then it just kept going. So no, I never imagined. In fact, the crazy thing now is I can't walk into a running shoe store without people going, "Hey, you're the guy in the video." So it's weird having kind of niche celebrity status.
And everywhere I come across online, when I'm doing research or I'm just looking at, for my own, interest in the barefoot community, everywhere I come across, your video is featured prominently. It seems to be video.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I did a follow-up that's Stuff Runners Say to Barefoot Runners that technically is funnier, but didn't get the same kind of response because the sequels tend not to.
Yeah, you can't recreate the magic, I guess, but
no.
So we're going to take the conversation a little bit different here for a second, and I know that you recently moved into some new offices in Boulder, and I know that you had a home office to begin with. So with that in mind, what are some of the biggest positive and negatives you've experienced since moving into your new digs?
Well, first of all, let me clarify. It's not like that we had a home business. We had a business that we happened to be living in. It was in a house that we used to live in, but it became a business that we were living in.
Started at a little corner of an extra bedroom and expanded into
the entire house.
Yeah, pretty much. So we have a new shipment of shoes coming in, and literally no more room in the garage to put them. So it was time for us to move into some commercial space and give our employees real offices instead of dining room tables and things like that. So we moved in on September 1st, and we're very excited about being here. It feels all grown up and official.
I don't like the fact that I have to put on clothes to get to work. I find that very confusing. But it's really great. It not only seems grown up from a business standpoint, but really has that feeling just in terms of how we're treating what we're doing. The whole attitude has changed. It's not that we're serious, because we're not serious people, but we're working harder. We're very aware of how long and how much we work. It's easy not to pay attention to that when it's all in your house, but now when I'm still at the office at 9 o'clock at night, it's very apparent. And we just really love everything that this move has brought to us.
That's great. And just to clarify for the audience, Stephen is wearing pants right now.
As far as you can tell. I haven't put the camera down far. Oh, wait, I do have to point out, though, there is one real downside to being in this office that if you come and visit us, you'll experience, and that is about 100 yards that way is a new gourmet donut shop, and that place is pure evil.
Yeah,
so
it's really bad news.
We will show you how evil it is if you come visit.
Every time we talk, you try to force the evilness on me. I'm going to have to taste it one day.
Every time we talk, I try to avoid running out of the interview to go get a donut.
Well, excellent. Now this question is going to be for Dennis and Stephen, and I just want to really have you share with the audience what your own personal running regimen looks like.
Oh, Dennis, do you want to start?
Sure. I tend to run 4 to 5 days a week. The other 2 days I take a long, probably hour-and-a-half walk in the morning. And it's mostly just a training run. I'm not running to set any times anymore, but just love the workout. And yeah, for me, and it's a social thing because there's a couple friends I know that I'm running with from time to time, and it's just a great conversation going out for a run for an hour or so and coming back. So that's my running, basic fitness, and a social opportunity.
So I wish we had our customer service guy, Bill, here for this conversation, because he's the runner in the office. He's an ultramarathoner, does everything barefoot or in Xero Shoes. And then I'm on the exact opposite end of the spectrum. I don't think of myself as a runner. I'm a sprinter. So 5 years ago, after a 30-year break, I got back into sprinting, and I run the 100 and the 200. I run the 100. The 200 I do reluctantly. And as a result of being barefoot and all the changes that made to my form, that helped me get stronger, it helped me get rid of my injuries, and now I'm Masters All-American sprinter, which means I'm one of the fastest guys over the age of 50 in the country. And as far as we can tell, for men over the age of 50, I might be the fastest Jew in the world. And so my training, I'm on the track 2 to 3 days a week, and then I'm lifting 2 to 3 days a week.
Great. And then, just in the course of doing a little bit of research on you, Stephen, did you happen to run at Duke at all?
Oh, wow, that's freaky that you've been stalking me. No, I was an All-American gymnast way back when. So what happened was when I was about 15 and everybody got taller except for me, that's when I switched from sprinting to pole vaulting and long jumping and was paying more attention to gymnastics. It became clear that that was really where I should put my focus. So I became an All-American gymnast and was not doing any running at all for 30 years.
Wow, okay. And just as a personal note, I went to school at NC State, so I'm familiar with the tobacco triangle.
If we can get someone from UNC on the call, then we'll have the whole thing mapped out.
That's great, though. Moving on, can we expect any changes, or can the audience expect any changes in your business model down the line in the future?
Yes, we're going to be taking all of our profits and buying lottery tickets, and then hoping that
I thought we were buying donuts.
Oh, donuts and lottery tickets. That's our new business model. I'm just revealing this to Dennis today. He didn't know. The business model, not a whole lot. We've been selling almost exclusively online for the last 2.5 years. We've been moving into retail because retailers have been banging down our door saying customers are walking in asking for your shoes. Or we have some retailers who bought our shoes and they wear them in their store and they call and say, people are asking to buy these, not the stuff that we're selling, so what can we do? So we're doing that, but that's the gist of the business model. In terms of product, we have a lot going on. We're always looking to improve the product, make it simpler, make it more effective, make it more efficient, and we have some product line expansions that I can't talk about because they're real secret, although I will give you a hint. People often ask, especially around this time of year in the Northern Hemisphere, what do we do in the cold? And personally, I made it through the last 2 winters with nothing but my Xero Shoes on. I'm not suggesting people do that. It's a little nutty, but I just decided to see how long I could go without wanting to put on real shoes, and next thing I knew it was spring. So we are working on a winter product, but I can't say a whole lot more, but I'll just tease people with that. And in about 10 days from now, we should have something we're very excited about, which is just our same product, our 4mm Connect and our 6mm Contact, but in 4 really funky, cool colors. And that's also in response to customer demand. So we're very happy. We sent review copies of those out, review pairs. We sent stuff out to samples to reviewers, and the feedback has been really, really fun. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
All right. Well, the audience is definitely going to have to stay tuned then for your bit of your teaser there, what you've got going on. And let's talk about social media just for a moment here. You know, I know Xero Shoes is active on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, YouTube, and you've got a great following on these channels. Stephen, as the CEO of a successful startup, can you explain to the viewers why digital advertising makes sense for Xero Shoes?
Well, more than makes sense. If it weren't for social media and digital advertising, we wouldn't be here, because that's how we built the entire business. That and word of mouth was all that we did. We didn't do any traditional advertising.
No, I mean, when Stephen first learned how to make garages, he made some videos explaining how to do that and put them up, and they pointed back to our site, so if people were having trouble finding materials, we could be a resource. But it turned out to be a really good way to participate in the conversation about barefoot running, let people know that we exist, and was really actually instrumental in getting the word out there about what we were doing. So YouTube in particular has been really valuable for us in that way.
Then there's the flip side. In addition to what we can offer and share via YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, etc., there's the whole conversation aspect, which is tremendous. Things that we never imagined being part of our product or our life, frankly, when people were coming up with new designs and new tying styles and new ideas for how to make the product work, or new things they were planning on doing. When we first did this, the whole idea came from the performance running community. And now we have people who use Xero Shoes for walking, hiking, camping, sea kayaking. We got videos from a guy who just climbed a number of 14,000-foot mountains in Colorado, pictures of guys going down the Grand Canyon. So all these uses we never imagined.
You know, and we've also been super impressed to see what people have done design-wise, the patterns they've come up with, new lacing styles. We've had customers who've come up with, 14 different ways to tie their Xero Shoes, and we're just incredibly grateful to see the new things. It's always so exciting whenever people really get into it like that, and they share that with us. So it's been, it's the kind of thing that didn't really happen before the internet. So it's been one of the really fun aspects of our business, is just seeing people how people take the shoes and make them their own.
And to put on my marketing hat and talk to people who might have that hat as well, the amazing thing about social media is it allows you to find the people who are hip to what you're doing in a very effective and easy and fun way. I mean, you find where the conversations are and you join the conversation. And it's not joining the conversation to sell, it's joining the conversation because that's what you're always talking about anyway.
Right.
And it's amazing that you can just find these sort of virtual coffee shops, if you will, where all of your people are hanging out. So if it weren't for the internet, obviously, and social media in particular, I'm sure we wouldn't be here right now.
Great. Yeah, and you've got the right idea, Stephen. You've got to give to get in social media. You can't just blast out there.
No, there's nothing I find more annoying than people who just sit around talking about their product all the time. I'm more interested in things that are interesting, entertaining. One of the advantages of the Stuff Barefoot Runners Say video is my background. I was a stand-up comic for years, and people kept saying, you got to do some sort of iconoclastic fun things with Xero Shoes, and I never really had an idea of how I wanted to do that. And then when that video happened and then hit, it all became very clear. So we have a lot more stuff that we're working on over the next year that's going to be very, very fun and very, very funny. And we also have a lot more that we're starting to offer that's educational, because by now I've gotten the same 30, 40, 50 questions over and over and over. I know what people want to know. I know what people are confused about. I know what people want to know more about. And so my mission is to present all of that in as many ways as I can so that people can find it and have a better experience.
Great. And really, this question, Stephen, you can jump in on this one as well. I was going to ask this to Dennis, though. When you think of your typical customer, who are they?
I think they're people who are really open-minded, first of all, and I think they're people with common sense, so they can understand the value of what these things are. A lot of people want something that's close and familiar to what they're always used to. And I don't think that's our core customer. We may sell to those people eventually, but I think the core customer is somebody who says, wow, that makes sense. I'm going to try it because lightweight and close to the ground seems like a great idea, and they'll try it. They aren't dissuaded by, well, that's not what X brand is doing or Y brand is doing, or that's not like the last pair of shoes I had. They're like, that just makes sense. I'm going to try it. So I think that's our customer, that kind of person. And I think in my long experience in the footwear business, I would call that an alpha consumer. They're the first people that will try new things. And they tend to open up a marketplace. Then you get the early adopters who are also pretty adventuresome, but they're not going to be the first ones. But once those really kind of leading people try it, or they read it someplace, they see it online, and they feel like it's okay that somebody else has done it first, then they're right after that. And then, of course, at some point in time, you get kind of the mainstream people. And I'm not sure how mainstream this original product will ever be, or will ever want it to be, because it's kind of special in its own certain way. And we'd like to build a large business from this, but we don't need to be huge, gigantic brands that are trying to please everybody on every level. If we stay true to our product, we'll gain a great deal of respect for our product, and I think we'll have a really nice business.
Now, I think that's all fine and dandy, but frankly, I think our core customer is anyone who has feet. Not even 2 feet, just 1 foot will do. As long as they have at least 1 foot that eventually touches the ground, I just want to get those people, that's all.
Our heritage is really in the running community, and particularly in the ultra running community. But what we found from the beginning is that the runner in the family will buy a pair of shoes, and then they'll get them, and everybody else in the family will say, hey, I want a pair. So, it's really born out of running, but we see people who want them just because they like how they look, and people who are using them for camping, for hiking, for walking, for all different kinds of things. So I think the possibilities are definitely endless.
Yeah, first of all, at some point, I think we're going to have some sort of flip-flop burning ceremony where we just have people bring all their flip-flops and we turn them into the toxic pile of trash that they should be. That's my goal, is to replace all flip-flops. Not that I have megalomaniacal goals for our product, but I'm just saying. But Lena's right, and Dennis as well. Our original customers were runners, and now we've expanded way beyond that. The kind of people who buy Xero Shoes, they tend to be creative, they tend to be, as Dennis said, adventuresome, they tend to be a little iconoclastic, usually health-minded, not always fitness-minded, because you don't have to be a runner or an athlete to wear these, but typically people who are aware of their health, who like the idea that natural movement, again, makes sense, that there's something not only authentic about it, but intellectually honest about it as well. And there's a number of other markets that we haven't really started talking about because they're only starting to emerge that are very interesting to me. The elderly, there's a lot of theories that balance problems with the elderly, it's not something with your inner ear. It's that after you've been in shoes for a long time and the nerves in your feet don't connect to your brain properly, your brain basically doesn't know how to balance you. Take off your shoes and start using your feet, and suddenly you can regain that balance. So there's an aspect to the health component of what we're doing that we're only just scratching the surface of, but I actually think is a really, really big deal, and we're going to see the effect of that in the near future.
And a lot of that, it's still very preliminary. I think the science on the benefits of barefoot is still new and evolving, but we're hearing a lot of powerful reports from our customers, and we're looking forward to seeing some really good science done on just what benefits you can expect from being in a truly minimalist shoe.
Wow, it sounds like you guys have got a ton going on, some exciting developments on the way. And really, this is all the time we have today. Is there anything else you'd like to add quickly? Dennis, Lena, Stephen?
Other than the fact that I'm freakishly grateful that all of this has happened, because we didn't start this intentionally. This was really practically an accident. We fell into it, and it has been an amazing ride all along. So we're just very much looking forward to what's coming next, and hoping that maybe a vacation for a couple of days is part of what happens. We haven't had one of those in 3 years, but we're very excited about what we're doing and what people are doing with our product, and can't wait for what happens next.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to having a lot of fun.
I like the way you think.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we'll say goodbye to the viewers here, and I just want to remind the viewers, if you have any questions at all, and you're watching this on YouTube, please leave the comments in the section below, and one of us will get back to you. And if you're on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+, we're going to post this video there as well, so please reach out to us and let us know what you think. We're going to take off now, but we'll see you guys later.
Bye-bye.